Ladies and gentlemen, this is a crucial moment. Russia is regrouping, recruiting, and trying to re-equip. This is not a moment to slow down. It's a time to dig deeper. The Ukrainian people are watching us.
This is my first video update coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus on this Saturday early afternoon here in Nicosia, and I thought we would talk about some news. We have a lot of stuff to discuss. What you saw there was Lloyd Austin, the Pentagon chief, speaking at the Ramstein Air Base in Germany during the Collective West Defense Minister meeting that was taking place and may actually still be taking place in Germany in this U.S. Air Base. And Lloyd Austin, he was talking about the need for continued escalation. He was talking about how the Collective West cannot slow down the sending of weapons to Ukraine. They cannot slow down the sending of money to Ukraine because they need to achieve what is now being dubbed by the Collective West marketeers as Victory 2023 for Ukraine. And then Lloyd Austin also talked about some sort of turning point, though he didn't elaborate as to what he means by turning point. Lloyd Austin is not a very big thinker. He's more of a military-industrial complex company man. So when he says something like a turning point in the conflict, I don't think it's something very deep or something very strategic that is about to happen, that's going to shock the world and shock the Russians. I'm actually starting to believe that when he means turning point in the conflict, he actually means a turning point in favor of Russia and a turning point that is not good for NATO, the Collective West, and Ukraine. So we need to, as the Collective West, we need to continue to pump more and more weapons and more money into Ukraine because this is a bad turning point. This is a turning point that's working against us. Of course, Lloyd Austin could have meant turning point from the standpoint of some sort of preparation for an offensive against Russia, some Ukrainian offensive that they seem to be talking up more and more these days. It seems like the new hopium coping strategy for the Collective West and the new way to keep everyone invested in Project Ukraine is to talk up some sort of spring offensive that allegedly is being prepared, and it's something that they're cooking up in the springtime. So for that reason, we have to get training and weapons and everything in order because there's going to be a big Zelensky Ukraine NATO spring offensive, or that's what they're saying. But as far as the actual details of the meeting in Ramstein, I think that this was a big dud for Austin and for NATO. And it was a big dud because Germany, at the end of the day, they did not agree to send the Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. And I think that Austin was anticipating a big announcement along the lines of the Germans will now empty out all their stockpiles of Leopard 2 tanks, and they will give those over to Zelensky. And he didn't get that, though I still believe that Schultz will buckle in the end. I would say maybe it's, I don't know, I'd give it, say, a 60% chance, maybe 70% chance that Schultz will buckle and he will give up the Leopards, but who knows? Maybe he will hold firm to the decision not to send the Leopard 2s to Ukraine. No doubt about it, he's going to get a whole lot of pressure from EU member states as well as the United States and the deep state. They're going to pile on the pressure on Germany to deliver those Leopard 2s. Actually, the United States could probably just say that, you know what, we're not going to deliver LNG to Germany, and the EU can say we're going to cut off your LNG unless you deliver those Leopard 2s, and there you go. Germany used to once, the narrative goes that Germany was beholden to the Russians when it came to gas. Well, now they're beholden to the Americans and the EU kleptocrats when it comes to gas. Who knows? But we are getting a lot of talk about this spring offensive, and we're seeing a lot of articles in the collective West mainstream media which are saying that that NATO and the United States are telling Zelensky to not double, triple, quadruple down in Bakhmut, to retreat from Bakhmut so that the Ukraine military can better prepare for their spring offensive. We are also getting news from Reuters, and they are citing high-ranking U.S. officials, which are advising the Zelensky regime to not go on any counteroffensive until the springtime, so that all of the weapons and the Ukrainian troops, allegedly these Ukrainian troops, that they are training in the collective West are ready to go. So everything seems to be about this big spring offensive, or at least that's what the collective West would like us to believe is going on. So get out of Bakhmut, Zelensky. According to the collective West, Bakhmut doesn't serve any strategic importance anyway. This is what they would like everybody to believe. Get out of Bakhmut, retreat from there. It's hopeless to continue to pour in military and resources in Bakhmut, and hold on for just a few more months, 3-4 months, while we get all of the military equipment to you and we train all the Ukrainian soldiers so that you can launch this big springtime offensive. And that is what we are hearing. We are also hearing reports from a lot of collective West mainstream media outlets that that Zelensky should also pull out troops from Bakhmut so as to better defend against some sort of Russian offensive that could be coming in February, which could come from Belarus, and then it could also come from Odessa, and then it could come from the east. It could come from 3 directions, and they are warning Zelensky that if you continue to remain bogged down in Bakhmut, which once again doesn't serve any strategic importance according to the collective West, then you're not going to be able to defend against this 3-pronged attack from Russia, which is going to be happening February, March, sometime around there. Any week now, this could be happening, and maybe that is the case. I don't know. The Russians have been very good at keeping everyone in the dark as far as what their next plans are, as it should be, as a good military should do. I mean, this is no surprise. And maybe all this spring offensive stuff is also just, smoke and mirrors as well. Who knows? But the meeting in Ramstein did not go well because they didn't get the Leopard 2 announcement from Germany, but they did get some other announcements that they kind of played up, and it comes from the UK. Of course, the UK, they promised to transfer Challenger 2 tanks to Ukraine. So that was something that Lloyd Austin, he built it up as this being the first transfer of Western main battle tanks to Ukraine. So he was talking that up. He also said that many EU countries are going to be handing over their existing German Leopard tanks. So he talked that up as well. He also did say that, and I mentioned this in my video yesterday, that the U.S. will not be sending any Abrams tanks to Ukraine. So that was not good for the Zelensky regime. But the Ukrainian defense minister, he said that even though we're not going to get the Abrams, even though we're going to need to continue to work on Germany and to pressure Germany to get the Leopard 2s, the defense minister Reznikov, as a consolation prize, he said that Poland will be training Ukrainian troops to operate the tanks that are coming their way in Poland. So that was kind of the talking point from the Ukraine defense minister. That was the win that he was chalking up. We're going to get Leopard 2s, not from Germany, but from other countries. We'll get Challengers from the UK, and I want everybody to know that Poland is going to be training our Ukraine troops to master the Leopard 2s, perhaps for the springtime counteroffensive or the springtime offensive that they keep talking up in order to deliver Victory 2023 that many collective West leaders are talking about. Victory 2023 for Ukraine. But the pressure that they're going to be putting on Germany is going to be immense for the Leopard 2s. We already see hashtags on Twitter. Hashtags like Release the Leopards, which are trending on Twitter. So you can see that the deep state is already working the social media angle. There were videos that I saw the other day coming out of Berlin with protesters at the offices of the Chancellor of Schultz, and they were actually chanting "Free the Leopards now." That is a quote from these videos. So you had a whole bunch of protesters in front of the German Chancellery in Berlin, and they're pressuring Schultz to free the leopards, release the leopards hashtag. And I don't know if these were organic, protests. From what I believe, these I saw a lot of Ukrainian flags waving during these protests. This could be Ukrainians who are living in Germany. Maybe these are Germans who do want Schultz to release the leopards, or maybe this is once again the deep state mobilizing their protesters that they always seem to have, handy for situations like these, and getting them out in front of the Chancellery in Berlin to add a little more pressure onto Olaf Scholz. It makes for good videos to put on social media to show that, hey, look, you see even all of German society, look at these protests, you see even German society is pressuring Olaf Scholz to release those leopards. Very good marketing that the deep state has, you have to admit it. The deep state, the collective West, has really, really good marketing. Not all the time, but when they want to, they come up with very interesting marketing techniques. Interesting hashtags. Release the leopards. Free the leopards. And then, of course, they have all of the distribution and the social media to get it out there so they can get a huge reach and pressure world leaders in that way. And they're going to pressure Olaf Scholz in a big, big way. They're going to use every tool at their disposal to pressure Olaf Scholz, including protests in Berlin. So I don't know. Someone in Germany, people in Germany, let me know. Are these protests, is this really the will of the people? Are these really organic protests that just kind of sprung up because German society absolutely, positively wants those leopards released to Ukraine? Or is this some other funny business going on? Either way, the Kremlin, they came out with a statement. Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, he came out and he said that, you know what? Deliver all the tanks you want. We are going to annihilate those tanks. We're going to destroy them, according to the AFP. And they are quoting Peskov as saying this, the sending of tanks, this will change nothing in terms of the Russian side advancing on the path to achieving its goals. Peskov also said that if the US and its allies supply Ukraine with heavy tanks, the consequences for Kiev will only be negative. And he's exactly right, because all of these weapons coming from all of these different countries, from all of these different manufacturers, is just going to be a catastrophe. I mean, it's going to be a catastrophe. It's, I think about this in terms of business. Like say you have a clothing store, and you have a clothing store that has 10 different suppliers. You're getting your merchandise from 10 different suppliers. You don't even know what they're going to send you. You just tell them, just send me anything you have. I don't care if it's fashions from the 1950s. I don't care. Send me whatever you have, in whatever colors you have. in whatever sizes you have. I don't care if it's for men, for women, for children. I don't care. And you have not even 10, you have 15, 20 suppliers from all over the world. You don't even know where half of them are coming from. And you say, just send them over to me. I'm going to put them in my clothing store. And I don't really know what I'm trying to accomplish in with this clothing shop. I don't know if I'm going to be focusing on women, on men, on both, on teenagers. I don't know. Just give me everything you have. I'm going to throw it into my shop, and let's just see what happens. Hopefully I can stay in business just a little bit longer. Hopefully someone will come in and buy my stuff. I don't know who exactly I'm targeting it towards. I don't have an idea as to what customer I'm trying to go after. Just give me whatever you have from whatever year, from whatever color, from whatever sizes, and I'll just try to make it work. This is what it reminds me of. This is going to be a complete freaking mess. This is going to be a mess. Russia, on the other hand, is like it's like a clothing store which has one supplier of which they own. They own the supplier. They own the entire supply chain. They actually own the raw materials that goes into the fabric, that goes into making the clothes, and they understand the entire production process of those clothes. And when those clothes go into the shop, it's they make the clothes which are specific for a certain target customer and a certain demographic. And by the way, the clothes that they're selling are top-notch quality at a super good price, like real value for money. That's Russia. Ukraine is this scheme that they have going on, this building a military while you're fighting a war. This is basically what they're doing. They're building a military from scratch while they're fighting a war. This thing is it just doesn't make any sense. And the fact that you're going to be getting all of these weapons from all these different people, and you're going to have to integrate this into some sort of cohesive fighting force to take on the Russians, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But this is the plan. This is what they have going on. And they're selling this dream of the new wonder weapon being the Leopard 2 tanks. So what happens when the Russians destroy the Leopard 2 tanks? Well, the Netherlands is saying that they're thinking about now sending F-16s. Really? Is that what's next in line? F-16s? Is that going to be the new wonder weapon if and when the Leopard tanks enter Ukraine and get destroyed by the Russians? Before the Leopard 2s, it was the HIMARS. And before the HIMARS, it was the drones. The Leopard 2s, they're really putting a lot of marketing behind the Leopard 2s, a lot of marketing. Hashtags and release the Leopards and all of these things going on. But that's more to pressure Germany. But, I mean, even Zelensky, he's scolding Germany. He's scolding Schultz. He did an interview the other day, and he was like telling Schultz and the Germans, how dare you don't send your Leopard 2s to us. How dare you? How dare you? This is what he was telling the German people. Let me try to find a quote from Zelensky here. Let me pull it up. Give me a sec. So Zelensky scolds Berlin for its stance on tank deliveries. The president insisted Germany should not be allowed to say, if America does something, I do something too. That's rich, coming from Zelensky. He continued, you are grown-up people. You can talk like that for 6 months, but people die here every day. Zelensky stated that if there is no political will on an issue, then you don't have to look for excuses. Then you say no. You don't have to say that anything or someone is not ready yet. He also reiterated his requests for the tanks, saying it's not like we're attacking. If anyone's worried, those Leopards aren't going through Russia. We're defending ourselves. At the same time, Zelensky thanked Berlin for the aid packages that had already been provided. We are grateful. I want everyone to hear that. We are grateful to Germany. He was speaking to the ARD channel. So it's a very interesting statement coming from Zelensky, where he says, if America does something, I do something too. Germany should not be allowed to say, if America does something, I do something too. Very interesting coming from Zelensky. And so basically he's saying, look, Schultz, man up. If you don't want to give us the tanks because you don't want to give us the tanks, man up and say it. I think Schultz should man up and say it. He should say, Zelensky, I don't want to give the tanks. Why? Because I don't want Leopard 2s moving through Ukraine to fight the Russians. He should just say that. Maybe the reason that Zelensky doesn't want to give the Leopard 2s, or maybe another reason why Zelensky doesn't want to, why Schultz doesn't want to provide the Leopard 2s, is because of this statement from the head of the Bundeswehr military union, Mr. Andre Wüstener. He said that the Bundeswehr is actually naked. We are expecting to have a severe shortage of weapons by 2025. Due to the energy crisis, it is simply unprofitable for factories to sell weapons at the same prices. And if the cost is raised, the agency will not pull these purchases. What kind of delivery of tanks to another country can we even talk about? So yeah, the optics of Leopards moving through Ukraine should be of huge concern to Germany. But from a business standpoint, Germany just can't, they don't have the Leopards. They can't produce the Leopards. They're producing the Leopards at a loss. And if the Leopards get annihilated, or if they don't perform well, then you have a big problem in the German military-industrial complex. So, Olaf Scholz, if those are the reasons, just come out and say it. Just come out and say it then. But he's not, because I still believe he's going to fold. That's why he doesn't want to come out like a man and say no, because of 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Period. Der Spiegel, the German publication, they put out an interesting article the other day saying that German intelligence is alarmed by high losses of the Ukrainian army in Bakhmut. And I'm reading a tweet now from the Kiev Independent where they're saying, according to Der Spiegel, during a meeting held in the Bundestag, the Foreign Intelligence Service informed politicians that Ukraine is losing a 3-digit number of soldiers daily. And then the Kiev Independent says the report doesn't specify how the losses are counted, and do they include wounded and captured. That second tweet from Kiev Independent is big-time coping. That is a big-time cope right there. 3-digit losses is a catastrophe. We've been talking about this on this channel, on the Duran, on Alexander's channel, that Ukraine is suffering heavy losses in Bakhmut. And wounded, captured, killed. I think for the Russians, if it means that they are removing Ukraine military from the battlefield, that's what their goal is. So the Kiev Independent, they're trying to cope with this devastating news from Der Spiegel. But I mentioned this in my video yesterday, and this ties into the Leopard 2 tanks. There are German military officials who are telling the German government Ukraine is going to lose. They are losing, and they're going to lose. Don't throw good money after bad. Don't put in good money after bad. Isn't that the phrase? Don't invest good money after bad? Something like that. Anyway, the point being, you can give them, they're probably telling the German government, you can empty out our entire stockpile of our inventory of Leopard 2s. You can empty out our entire stockpile of weapons. Ukraine is not winning, and they're not going to win. And you have to you have to imagine that just perhaps there are some people in the German government very high up who are saying this is just this is like a sunk cost. The sunk cost fallacy, isn't it what it's called? When you invest so much that you think if I just keep on investing more and more, then my business is going to turn around, where what you should really do is close shop and walk away and leave it, do something else. So there are forces in Germany, according to this article from Der Spiegel, which are saying this is a catastrophe. Big time catastrophe that we have to stop investing in. And that's actually smart advice, because what you have happening right now in Ukraine is you have the Russians now taking over more and more villages in and around Bakhmut. They're very close to operational encirclement of Bakhmut as well, and now you have the Russians moving forward in the Zaporozhye direction as well, and they are taking many settlements in the Zaporozhye direction, which is leading to many analysts thinking, what are the Russians going to do in this direction down south from Bakhmut? Are the Russians thinking of perhaps moving really, really far, all the way up to the Dnieper and setting up new defenses further inland of Ukraine? Or are the Russians just looking to create a little bit more of a cushion, of a defensive line in the Zaporozhye direction, anticipating perhaps that Ukraine may do something in that direction towards Crimea, just try to create a little bit more of a buffer between Ukraine and Crimea, and perhaps long-range missiles that the White House is talking about sending to Ukraine in order to hit Crimea. I think that's what the Russians are doing. I don't know. If I were to guess, say 50-50, if I was to guess, I would say that the Russians are not going to move further west into Ukraine from Zaporozhye. I don't think they want to extend themselves too far. And I would imagine that this is being done in order to create a little bit more of a buffer between Crimea and the anticipation of long-range missiles. And the reason I say that is because we've also been seeing videos in Moscow of Pantsir missiles being placed on the top of rooftops, specifically the Ministry of Defense. I want to see if I bookmarked this video so I could put it up for all of you guys. These videos have been making the rounds, and yeah, here we go. Eyewitnesses report increased air defenses in Moscow. Pantsir S-1 is being installed on the building of the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation and other administrative buildings in the capital. My thinking here is that the U.S. has already delivered or will deliver the long-range missiles soon, or some sort of long-range missile, some sort of missiles that could have the capability of hitting inside of Russian territory. And if there's two areas that the collective West would like to hit, I believe it's Crimea and a big major city in Russia, Moscow, right? To really shake up the Putin administration, you have to hit Crimea, or you have to hit something even more symbolic. And so that's what's leading me to believe that what you're seeing in Zaporozhye is to create a little bit more of a buffer. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe the Russians are going to push further out from where they are right now, deeper into Ukraine, and create a new defensive line. We'll see. We will soon find out. So let's move on now and talk about Jungle Joseph Borrell. Jungle Joseph Borrell. Remember his statement about the jungle and the garden? From now on, it's Jungle Joseph. And he was speaking, I believe, in Spain. He was giving a speech in Spain, and he said this. He said, Russia is a big country. It is used to fighting to the end, to almost losing, and then restoring everything. They did it to Napoleon, and they did it to Hitler. It would be absurd to think that Russia has lost the war or that its military is incompetent. Therefore, it is necessary to continue arming Ukraine. That is what Jungle Joseph said. And Dmitry Medvedev, he responded to this statement from Joseph Borrell. Joseph Borrell. And Medvedev, he said this. He said, good for him, though Borrell, with a poker face, he remembered that our country had defeated Napoleon and Hitler. Note that he was the one who drew the analogy. That is what Medvedev said. Medvedev then added that this war, therefore, with them is the new patriotic war, and the victory will be ours, as it was in 1812 and 1945. So they're talking about victory 2023, and Medvedev said, well, Borrell, he's the one that's drawing the analogy of Napoleon and World War II, so we all know how that ended. So going by Joseph Borrell's logic, he's saying because of Napoleon and World War II, and the way Russians fight and the way Russians win, we have to continue to pump Ukraine up with weapons. But you already know the outcome. So why give them those weapons? Isn't it better? Isn't it a much smarter thing to do before you get more devastation, like the kind of World War II or the kind of devastation from 1812? Isn't it a better strategy to say, because the Russians defeated Napoleon and the NAZIs, let's stop sending weapons to Ukraine and let's negotiate for a peaceful settlement before we destroy Europe in the way that Napoleon and World War II destroyed Europe. Doesn't that make more sense? Because you already know that the Russians are going to win. Joseph Borrell is admitting that the Russians will win. In this statement, he's saying it. He's saying the Russians will win. What makes you think that this time it's going to be any different, Borrell? Is Vander crazy? A better strategist than Napoleon? Is Zelensky a better military strategist than Napoleon? I don't think so. I don't think so. So going by his logic, going by Borrell, Jungle Joseph's logic, negotiate so you don't end up with the devastation of World War II and a Russian victory. So that was what Borrell said, and I think I should probably wrap this up, and I'll do 2 clown worlds here. Let's do 2 clown worlds. The first clown world is courtesy of the National Security Strategic Communications Coordinator. What a title. John Kirby. And he demonstrated yesterday with satellite images of the fact that the Russians, the Wagner guys specifically, who are now officially, I believe, a terrorist group. I believe that the United States has designated them a terrorist organization. Anyway, he said that Russia and the Wagner guys, they are getting all of their weapons from North Korea, and he presented satellite images. And he said that, according to his sources, on November 18th, 5 wagons from Russia went to the DPRK, where they were loaded with shipping containers, after which the wagons returned to Russia on November 19. Thus, the United States believes the PMC Wagner is buying weapons and ammunition from North Korea for combat operations in Ukraine. And Kirby said that the United States, they've brought this to the United Nations as well, and they're going to make a big stink about this. And he is making this announcement on the very same day that you had, 40 EU countries emptying out their weapon stockpiles to give to Ukraine. But anyway, let's just, let's forget about those double standards and the hypocrisy, and just say that this is a clown world. The whole thing about Kirby's presentation just reminded me of a time when George Bush was president of the United States. George W. Bush was president of the United States, and he was making the case for an Iraq WMD war. And he had Colin Powell sitting in front of the United Nations with satellite images and the little vial of anthrax, or what was it? Anthrax? I don't even know. And that was how they made the case for the invasion of Iraq. And that is what this presentation from Kirby reminded me of. If Russia wants to get their weapons from North Korea, I don't understand what the problem is. I understand that the U.S. thinks that perhaps they could choke off weapons from North Korea, and that would lead to the Russians not having any more weapons. But we all know that that's ridiculous. I would imagine that if the Russians are getting their weapons from North Korea, they're probably getting good weapons at a good price, and they're saying, okay, why not? I imagine it's something along those lines. I don't think it's anything that the Russians can't make or aren't making already. But the thinking, I guess, is if we can choke off North Korea and choke off Iran, then we can finally make this narrative of Russia is running out of weapons. We can finally make this narrative a reality. But expect to see Kirby at the United Nations holding up a vial, saying, "Look, you see, you see, this vial contains the residue of gunpowder residue, which we've traced back to North Korea, and there you go, there it is. That's evidence that Russia is getting weapons from North Korea, and so okay. I mean, fine, point taken. But you're getting articles now in the collective West. There was an article in Newsweek. Let me see if I have it here, if I bookmarked it. There was an article in Newsweek actually now asking if the U.S. is running out of weapons to send to Ukraine. Isn't that incredible? For 10 months, we've been getting articles saying that Russia's running out of weapons, and all of a sudden, now that things are going terribly bad for Ukraine, terribly bad for the collective West, we have Newsweek coming out and saying, is the U.S. running out of weapons to send to Ukraine? Oh my, how the tables have turned. So that's my first clown world. And my second clown world, it's going to be a quick one. U.S. and allies have agreed to introduce 2 separate price ceilings for Russian oil products. One ceiling is for products that are traded at a premium relative to crude oil, and the other is for products that are traded at a discount relative to crude oil. Oh my, oh my. Oh boy. My head hurts with all of these price caps, to be quite honest. So I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that they're thinking of putting together a double price cap on oil, and it looks like they have agreed to a double price cap on oil trading at a premium relative to crude oil, and the other price cap trading at a discount, a higher and a lower price cap. Okay, I can't even do the math, to be quite honest. I mean, I don't even know. The whole thing is completely confusing to me now. I'm sure that this is going to be completely confusing to everyone in the oil business, and everyone that is shipping the oil and refining the oil and is buying the oil. I'm sure it's going to just be a complete mess. It's going to make a mess of things. And, why stop at 2? Honestly, why stop at 2 price caps? Maybe they should introduce a middle price cap as well. So introduce a high price cap, introduce then a lower price cap, and maybe you should introduce a middle price cap. Yeah, why not? Just to play it safe. And if you want to be doubly, triply safe, maybe you should also introduce a 4th price cap that sits between the middle and the higher, and maybe a fifth price cap that sits between the middle and the lower, just to be extra double super safe. I mean, you want to make sure you cover all your all your ground there. Make sure you don't leave anything to chance. So put a higher, put a lower, put a middle, put one that's in between the middle and the higher, and put one that's in between the middle and the lower, and see how it goes. And if you're still not getting the result that you want, then I don't know, maybe you should introduce a price cap that is lower than the lower one, and maybe a price cap that is higher than the higher one. And maybe that will make the difference. Maybe that will finally bring the Russian economy to tatters. Anyway, that's my video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rockfin as well. Go to the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code. Good day. Take care.